Hello, everybody. Can I have your attention, please? I'd like to welcome everybody here. And ladies and gentlemen, your friends and neighbors, I'm sure we're all looking at each other and thinking what a good time we had with Swannie. What I'd, right off the bat, we're going to have a few things. After I get done saying a few things, I'd like to, about some of the history I've had with Swannie. I'd hope that some of you would be able to want to share that as well. So feel free, please feel free to come up and just relate to us a little bit about it. I remember a time when Jimmy and I we were playing baseball, Gilbert and Tyner and Mark Erickson and Mike Taylor. We were all playing ball for Grumpy's Tavern. Now, Jimmy was playing ball for Clark College with the rest of us. And my older brother Roger was trying to get the heart of this baseball team, Clark College's baseball team, and put us on the softball field out at Brush Prairie or up at David Douglas to make up Grumpy's Tavern softball team. Boy, was there something to be said about that. Here we are, we're at Clark College in practice, that sort of thing, getting ready for a game out of town or in town, and we're all wearing Grumpy's Tavern's jackets. Ken's father had a nightmare off of that. Needless to say, that thinned out Grumpy's Tavern if they wanted to continue to play baseball at Clark. So, some of the things that I had encountered with the guys that we lived together with, Swannie and I lived together with Doug Miller and Jim Paulson, and there was a bunch of us that lived down on 15th and Esther. Well, some of the situations we're on were we'd house crap games and that sort of thing, and when you know it, Swannie'd be right there to be the first one to take the money off the board and say, well, that's a house rules right there. So we were going to be here flushing our toilet, drinking our beer, you're going to pay $2 every half hour, just like the way the card games used to do down at Onslow's Frontier down there in Vancouver. I mean, the guy always had something to say, and he's always not afraid to say it. There was one time that stuck out, especially with he and I, and I think we were sitting playing cribbage in the dining room on 15th and Esther, and we had a BB gun out, and we were always trying to pick off mice. They were running across the counter. When you know it, somebody shoots a mouse, picks it up, and picks up the dead mouse. Stay right there. Stay right there. Damn it. Hold on. God damn it. Got it. Here, hold this thing for me, will you? The mouse. Okay, now put it in this bucket.
Oh dear.
So here's Swannie. I said, $25. $25. You eat the mouse. So he reaches in the bathroom, in the refrigerator, and he's pouring all these condiments on it. Got this bread, got the mouse in the bread right, and he bites into it. Had me fooled. We're thinking, oh my God, you know, he did it. And I told Noah, I said, I got $25, you know, what the heck? Anyway, Swannie fooled us by doing it. He didn't cut the head off or anything like that. But it was one of the things that we did while we were living there. I had to share that with you. That's probably one of the best ones. So I will say this, please, if anybody wants to say anything about this, talk a story about him, please come up and say whatever you like. It's wide open. Don't be shy either. Thank you.
I'm Rob Nelson. I'm one of the probably 8 or 10 Mavericks who were here. I was the pitching coach for the Mavericks in '77, and Swannie was the hitting coach. Swannie hit about 111, and I won 1 game in 3 seasons. So that'll tell you something about the Portland Mavericks. I didn't make the Mavericks in 1975 when I came from overseas to try out. But Bing Russell let me start the Little Maverick Baseball School. And Swannie became one of my main guys, and the kids at Grant Park just loved Jim Swanson. The only downfall was Swannie tried to get every phone number of all the moms who were dropping the kids off. He said, Swannie, you can't do that. He said, Rob, none of the dads are here. These are all single mothers. And I said, Swannie, the fathers have real jobs, not like you and me. And Swannie said, you know, I never thought about that. And I love the guy ever since. Jim Swanson was one of a kind. What he lacked in his ability to play pro ball, he was Bing Russell's favorite guy. He was the ultimate Mav. He was a left-handed catcher, and everybody loved Swannie. And I just want to say, I flew in from New York last night, and I'm so happy to be here because I love that guy. And every Mav who's here will tell you the same thing. Swannie led the league in heart, and a lot of people don't understand what a kind guy Jim Swanson was. He just had a big heart. I have one more story. I was pitching in Eugene. It was the first inning. I gave up 2 doubles and almost broke Cliff Holland's hand in center field when he caught a line drive. Steve Collette came out and said to Swannie, does Rob have anything on the ball? And Swannie said, I'll let you know when I catch one. I love that guy. He was the ultimate team player, and I'm grateful for everybody to be here to say thank you, Swannie, because he was the man. Thanks so much.
My name is Annette. Most of you know me as Butch. My nickname is Butch, and I knew Jimmy for a lot of years. And this one here, it's been probably a year or 2 ago. We were talking on the phone, and he asked me to call Jimmy and talk to him because it would be good for his memory. So I told him who I was and how long we'd known each other, and he's going, Butch, Butch. And he says, I think I know who you are. Are you black? And I said, all my life. That was our Jimmy. And another story I have to share, it's been a long time ago. I was on rally squad at Clark, and he was playing baseball at Clark. And I borrowed one of my boyfriend's cars to go to the game because I was a cheerleader, and guess what happened? Lo and behold, Jimmy hit a foul ball and broke his windshield. So, needless to say, Jimmy was one of my really good friends. We ended up working together years ago out at El Paso Natural Gas, where I worked with his mother. And I've known the family for a very long time. And I used to play ball with and against Shelley. All of us have our favorite memories of Jimmy, and we'll always have him in our hearts. Thank you.
All right, there you go. So anyway, I was talking about, Jimmy played for Fort Vancouver. I played for Hudson's Bay. We were mortal enemies, but we were still friends, Remember the Trapadero Club? We'd all meet down there. We'd go dancing, and we'd be fighting and hitting each other, and then we'd meet there, and we'd be best friends. But anyway, when I went to Clark College, I played next to Jimmy with Vern Kinsvaller as our coach. And I'll never forget this. We were like 2 games in the lead for the regional championships. This old shit, that back in those days, we didn't even go by bus or anything. we had to kind of caravan to go to a game. So we had a double header up in R.A. Long. No, Centralia. So we go up there and we got the back window open on this wagon, and we're getting all this backwash of all this exhaust. So, and it's a beautiful day. By the time we get out there, it's like we're drunk. All we had to do is win one game out of this double header, and we lost both games because we were all fucked up, breathing all this exhaust. It was like we were playing drunk. It was crazy. And then after that, then we had a playoff of a David Douglas. God bless. Swannie we're tied for the championship game. Runner on third. Swanson lays down a butt, or was it a hit?
It was a bunt with 1 out.
Was that one? 1 out. So the guy scores. Swanson doesn't run to first base, and they grab the ball and tag him out, and the game was over, and we lost.
He didn't run out the first.
He didn't run out. He's standing in the middle of the first base. Oh, hey!
Never reached first.
We gave him so much shit about that for so many years. Oh, God. He can never live that one down. And there's a lot more stories. He was a good buddy. I used to go up and visit with him up in Seattle when he had his place out there in Bellevue, which I'm not going to repeat those stories, but great guy. Everybody that ever met that guy loved him.
Anyway, first off, I want to really thank everybody for showing up. It's an incredible day for all of us, and I know Swannie would really appreciate this because I look around and I see all facets of his life, from every age group to every high school to college to the Mavericks. Thank you for being here, and just to everybody that knew Swannie. Swannie was an icon. And it's really hard to describe in just a couple minutes exactly what he did for us and how he affected us. He did some stuff that I know that from the 7th grade on, when he left Lady of Lourdes and came into Shumway High School, that the first thing he did is he proclaimed that he was going to take our positions. Because he came from a private school and I was in a public school, and that was Swannie. He was cocky, he was brash, he had some hard bark on him, but inside out, he loved people, and he really was a great leader. He was an inspirational guy. It didn't matter. He would always win the loose balls on the court. He would always come in sliding head first anywhere he could to get that extra base. He would do what it took to lead us. He wasn't the biggest guy. He wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the strongest guy, but he was our leader, and you can count on that. And we had some great people that we played with over the years, and it's so hard to put into words exactly what he did for us, but a couple of quick stories here that I think I should share is one of them. Swannie wasn't a fighter, right? But he would fight you, or at least he put on the guise that he would fight you, right? But he would fight you with, number one, words, because even if it came down to throwing punches, he would find a way to talk his way out of it, right? And he would be hugging and buying him a Swannie Coke by the time it was all over. So I never really saw him in a fight, but I saw him chase a few people down one time, at different times. One story, we're at the totem pole. Anybody ever been to the totem pole before? Pretty rowdy place back in the day, right? So anyway, we're getting in a row with a couple guys, and Swannie's got this one guy pegged. So he goes, okay, let's go outside, because he was, he didn't want to fight him inside. He needed some space, right? So we go outside. The guy that walks outside with him takes off his shoes and gives him one of these. He was supposed to be this big karate guy, right? And Swannie said, he looked at him, he starts laughing. And he goes, F you! And he takes off running for the guy. The last thing we saw, he's running down Highway 99, dropped his shoes, and we never saw him again. Oh, he just loved that type of scenario, though, because like I said, he would talk his way out of fights more than anything. So Another time we were at Swannie's and it's late, and there was an inebriated guy there, and he was trying to get him peacefully out the door. Well, it's not happening. So he kind of herded the guy towards the front door at Swannie's, and he gets him outside. Well, the guy starts flinging his arms, and Swannie grabs him by the back of the jacket, and it's in the winter, it's raining. And the guy's flailing, and the guy falls down. Swannie grabs him by the back of the jacket, and he's dragging him across Pioneer Square on the side of his pants, and they let him go, and the guy just took off, and we never saw him again either. So that was Swannie, though. He would, if he had to get physical, he would, but he never really got to that. The thing that I remember about him most, coming into high school is that he led the team in shooting in basketball. He didn't lead the team in making them. But and there's some guys in this room that we played high school ball against. John Gilbert won, Ty Gordon, Bobby Edwards, and probably a few that maybe I haven't seen yet today that would attest to just how scrappy the guy was. Right? It didn't matter. He would fight tooth and nail. I was just talking to Bobby Edwards about how hopelessly left-handed he was. And Bobby, all he would do is he'd just guard him really hard to his left, and he couldn't go to the right. So I think Jimmy dribbled out of bounds one time because he couldn't change hands. But seriously, guys, the important thing here for all of us today is to realize just how good of a man he was and how good of a heart he had. He served us all. Whether it was in high school, he led us from the front and not from the back, okay? He didn't push us, he pulled us. And he was our leader. And it was an incredible thing to watch, and we would follow that guy anywhere. The last story I'd like to tell you about, Swannie was a bit of a ladies' man, right? Right? Anybody that knew him knew that, he would probably start a fight and then go over and hustle the girls while everybody else fought it out. Well, we get into ninth grade, and, I'm kind of trying to find my way a little bit, and he just comes over from Lady of Lourdes, the private school, and I'm asking a couple of girls out, and the first thing they said is, nope, I'm going with Swannie. So I go down the line to the next girl. Hey, you want to go steady? Nope, I'm going with Swannie. And that happened like 5 times in one day. I gave up. You could not compete with the guy, right? You could not compete with the guy for women or for entertainment or anything. He always had a story, but he would always pace. You remember that? He'd be smoking a cigarette, and he would be pacing all the time, right? That was his style, and he would stop, and he would throw a one-liner at you, and you would just stop you in your tracks. He was just that kind of an iconic guy. And it's important to me to really tell you how heartfelt it is for me, because I grew up with him. We hung together through the thick and the thin of things, and it was the best time of my life. Everybody here has your own story, and the one thing I want to tell everybody that's here, we're all his legacy, right? Every single one of us has a story to tell about that man, and that's the most important thing, that we all remember him, the smile on his face, because when you saw that, it was like looking good right in the face. Everything that was good in this world, he reminded us of. And I can't wait to see him on the other side.
Amen.
Love you, don't change. And I might add, swan thongs.
Hi. I just want to say, us guys that were Mavericks, some of us are over here, and we'd all like to come up and tell some stories, but some of them we really can't tell. So I got a couple clean ones I could tell you, but one of them was, I was a pretty mild-mannered player, and I happened to slide into a base trying to stretch a double into a triple, and I got called out. And I came over to the dugout after I got tossed out of the game, and I thought, hey, I just got tossed out. And all the players were sitting there looking at me like, what was that? And I look at, what's wrong? He goes, you didn't get your money's worth. I mean, our fines back then when you got kicked out was $10. Well, that was a lot of money. So I looked at them, I didn't get my money's worth? No, go get your money's worth. So I head back out,
And the lady umpire, she starts chapping on me some more. Of course, I said a few things, and all of a sudden, who's next out there? Swannie. I'm tossed. Swannie starts in. He's my supporter. He gets tossed. And then the manager came out. He gets tossed, and we all looked at each other. Did we get our money's worth? I guess we did. Swannie was very supportive. We were playing in Walla Walla. I just happened to get tossed out again. I slid into home plate. It was safe by a mile. Umpire called me out. I called him a couple of nice names. And I thought I got my money's worth, and I started heading out because he had to go sit up in the stand. He had to sit up in the stands when he got kicked out there. So I go out, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I turn around and Swannie's arguing with the ump. I said, "What's going on here?" And he starts getting louder and louder. And finally, he gets tossed out, and he comes up in the stands. He goes, I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I didn't want you sitting up here by yourself." So, anyway, there was one story. I'll try to clean it up a little bit. We were talking about this over here. We're waiting in the clubhouse. You know, we come in. You know, game starts at 7:30 or whatever. We're usually there at about 4:30. And we show up in the clubhouse, and we're getting ready and getting dressed. And all of a sudden, you look up, and here's Swannie. Here's Steve Collette. Who was it? Who else was it? Who? The Cervantes. We look at these guys, and they got cuts and bruises. What the hell's going on here? What happened? Well, they didn't ride the team bus home from Salem the last night because Collette lived in Salem. So they decided to, stay down there and party it up. Well, they went to a bar. They went into the bar, and they got in a big fight. There was a couple guys that they thought Jimmy was cute. And so they came up and kind of pinching his rear end and everything else. And all of a sudden, Jimmy didn't quite like that, so punches started flying, and all of a sudden, I guess it was like a Wild West scene. There were chairs thrown over the bar, breaking glass everywhere. I can't remember the exact amount of the judgment was that the Mavericks had to pay back. But they're in true Maverick style. They went in and talked to Big Russell, and he said, "Well, tell me about it. What was it like?" And he said, "Well, we started fighting, and pretty soon we started hitting each other with chairs and throwing chairs. He says, "I'll take care of it, no worries." So if there was any action to be had, Swannie was right in the middle of it, and he was very supportive of his teammates. And the one little story that my dad told me, when we were young in high school age, they had this senior all-star game you played in, and Swannie was in the game, and my dad reminded me of this. He goes, he said, "Do you remember the Willie Mays catch? Willie Mays running straight away from home plate to the center field wall and making this over-the-shoulder catch. It's most people determine is the greatest of all time." And my dad said, he said, "That was a great catch." He said, "But I saw Swannie make a better catch in that senior all-star game." Same thing, he was playing center field, he took off running, the ball's over his head, and literally he dives, the ball, he can't see the ball. My dad's, he remembered this. He goes, he couldn't see the ball, there's no way. And he dove and he stuck his glove up, because he's left-handed, he stuck his glove up like this and catches the ball. And he said that was the most fantastic catch he'd ever seen. And to this day, I would say so myself. So, and what was mentioned here by Doug, as far as Swannie sliding into bases, the guy was a showman, and he gave it everything he had. The one other thing about him is that when he was playing basketball, one of his best moves would be, how can you dribble the ball down the floor and be looking at all the girls in the stands at the same time? Because he was very good at that. But I'll leave it with that, and thank you very much.
Can you hear me? You guys all remember Selberg's Tavern?
Oh, I remember that one.
You remember the fish bowls at Selberg's Tavern? Remember Jewel, the old bartender that was at Selberg's Tavern? So they have these huge fish bowls, and Swannie used to, it's by the shuffleboard table in Selberg. So Swannie would come in there and he'd order a fish bowl of beer, and then he'd see somebody else drinking a fish bowl of beer. Then he'd get up on that rail when he's half screwed up, and he'd have a fish bowl in each hand, and he'd run down that rail and go out the front door, and then run down the street with the bartender chasing him. They finally banned fish bowls when we came in. But Swannie, this is back when we were going to Clark College, right out of high school. So one day I was living down at Jake's house, and Swannie calls me up, and we both had Mustangs, and he had a flat tire. And he said, hey Kurt, can you come over here and change this flat tire for me? And I said, well, that's not that hard. Just pop the trunk and get the lug wrench out, jack it up. Oh no, you gotta come over here. You gotta come over here and help me change this flat tire. And I'm going, God damn it.
I don't know how to do it.
I don't know how to do it. You know, Jimmy might have been a good baseball player, Bobby, but he was a terrible fucking mechanic.
No way.
It was one of those tire wrenches with the forward lug things. He could never figure out which one fit on the lug nut. So I drive over there, and so I go over to his house, and here's the Mustang sitting in the driveway with a flat tire, and Jimmy's not around. Here's the spare tire laying out there in the lug wrench, and there's a note on the windshield that says, when you get the tire changed, meet me over at Selberg's. So I jacked his car up and changed the tire and went over to Selberg's, but no fish bowls. That's my story.
I never get up and do this, but Jimmy Swanson was a pretty special person to all of us from Vancouver. I used to go up and go to Swannie's, football, baseball, just even off season. And of all the times I went up, I always noticed how well he greeted everybody from Vancouver. That kid was from Vancouver, and he loved everybody that he met and knew from Vancouver. Just one story, personal story, and it was 1988, and I know that because I looked it up, and Dennis Erickson was the coach of Washington State, and I was at Swannie's in a midweek game, because about 11:30, quarter to 12, we started to die down. And back in 1988, he was a good-looking guy. I was kind of average, but guys wore, if you were going out and impress the chicks, you're going to wear leather jackets, and we both had leather jackets. We're looking good. He said, hey, Byron, I want to take you on a tour of the Soto Mojo here. So we left the bar, and I don't know how many we hit, but he instructed me before we left that if we go in here, I'm going to introduce you as Dennis Erickson. I said, what? He said, yeah, I'm going to introduce you. You look enough like Dennis Erickson, I can pass you off. Now, Swannie was ever the promoter. So we go into these bars, and of course, everybody knew Swanson. So I tried to get a little bit taller in my shoes. And if y'all remember Dennis Erickson, he kind of had some Katie Winters lips. So I would kind of just pass it around like that and smile. And Swanson was the mayor of Pioneer Square. And I just had to give you that story because of the love that he had and of the people from Vancouver. His sister's here tonight, and I know her heart is hurting, but the people of Vancouver, their heart's hurting for that guy too. And I'll leave you with one thing. I got an opportunity to play slow pitch softball with Jimmy, and I was an infielder, and he always had this one saying when we played, no matter how bad the situation was, we'd run out on the field. I don't know, Bobby Edwards, if you would recall, his catchphrase was, "Head up, come on, let's go. Head up, come on, let's go." And in his memory, I hope we can all head up, come on, let's go. Thank you.
I seen lonely times when I could not find a friend, but I always thought that I'd see you again. Won't you look down upon me, Jesus? You gotta help me make a stand. You just got to see me.